All righty, there he is, Marcel Louis-Jacques. How you feeling? Good looking? Oh, I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
There we go. We got me now.
There we go. There we go.
It wouldn't let me unmute, and I'm hearing the Edge Energy promo in my ear like 3-4 times. So I'm good though. I'm good. That was just trying to gather any sort of thoughts from what was otherwise a pretty mind-numbing game. But kind of disbelief at this point that we're at this point. There's disbelief that we're at this point. That's
Well, I mean, we as Dolphin fans, we've been beaten down like this so many other times that it's just kind of the same old, same old. You're kind of now experiencing it as a new thing, and I was really hoping that this was the end of that, and we're gonna head for better and bigger and better things. But obviously, that's not the case. And if anybody was wondering if there's a drop off after Tua, you kind of saw the drop off there. Unfortunately.
Yeah. There is one. The defense plays this. They play this offense differently. Like they ran it still a lot of too high, so they respected Teddy's arm, or at least the weapons the Dolphins have in some regard. But they forced him to take check down after check down after check down, and they didn't allow him to take any shots downfield. They didn't allow anything to open up downfield. There was one instance where I thought he missed Tyreek Hill on a deep post route. But beyond that, man, it was just again, it was a mind-numbing game, and that's Bill Belichick's wheelhouse. He will take away what you do best on offense, and he will happily grind out a slugfest or something like that. Like this. I don't know if we can even call it a slugfest, because that's when teams are throwing punches back and forth, right?
Yeah.
This was more slug than slugfest. It wasn't pretty. Skyler, I thought, at least added some kind of dimension where he could run the ball or run with the ball. But yeah, beyond that, there was no hope. There was no hope for this team once the New England took the lead again. You would like to think that maybe if Teddy finishes that game out, maybe they close the win out. But like I said the last time I was on the show, like you can only make so many excuses. You can only, come up with so many excuses and reasons why before it stops mattering. You stop caring. Like Dolphins fans, like, do you guys really care to say, like, are you even arguing it anymore online? Like, there's injuries, this guy's hurt, that guy's hurt. Or are you just saying, like, whatever?
The injuries is ridiculous. I mean, it's just,
it's
Javon
ridiculous.
Holland
But again, like, you can only do that for so long.
Kendall Lamb goes down, Javon Holland goes down. It's like they get no breaks. Teddy goes down. It's every week, and then you start the game. I kind of felt like they had a shot today. I kind of felt like, all right. And then when I saw the Armstead news, I was like, okay, that's it. The X and believe it or not, the X and Chubb news, I wasn't that concerned about because they haven't really been very impactful as it is. So it's like, okay, well, okay, maybe you can survive without them. But once I saw Armstead, and I got to tell you something, having said all that, I got to watch it again. But the line wasn't necessarily a big problem today for the passing game.
It wasn't a huge problem. Guys were not open. I think it was that simple. Guys were open downfield. I can appreciate and recognize the fact that they were able to put together a couple of scoring drives, a couple of, or 3 sustained scoring drives where you're not reliant on the big play. But, as hypocritical as this might sound, you kind of find yourself, if you're a Dolphins fan, you kind of find yourself hoping for a big play. Like, please, like, can somebody take a screen or take a slant to the house? Can somebody bust the coverage? Can somebody take the top off this defense? Like, it wasn't. They went from being overly explicitly reliant on the big play to it not even being an option, not even being on the board, which is closer to the norm than than otherwise. It's closer to normal football than a 40-yard pass play every single game. But yeah, you kind of found yourself hoping, like, man, please crack one. crack one, do something to make this defense nervous or respect you. But they did. New England did a great job of keeping everything in front of them. Um, I thought maybe with the banged up secondary, we might see some busts, some coverage busts. We might see just Tyreek or Jalen straight up beat their man, but it felt like those guys were essentially double covered. It felt like they always had a safety over the top honed in on Tyreek, honed in on Jalen, who was almost non-existent today. Um, and it was like playing a brick wall, man. This was total different from that first game of the season.
Yeah, no, of course, definitely. It was
Total 180. That's the word.
Where are you? How are you grading Mike McDaniel heading into the final game of the season?
Man,
tough, right?
It's tough. It's tough because I don't know what guys are being asked to do, and that's what makes grading so difficult. It's like I'm not in that room. If he sat down with us and said, like, on this play, this guy was supposed to do X, this guy was supposed to do Y, this is their option. I can watch the film and guess. I can watch the film and make an assumption, but I don't personally know what every assignment is, and so because of that, like, there's no rubric to grade on.
Buddy, we can say that when things are going good, we can say the same shit. Bottom line is results. And you're not getting any results, and you're losing game after game within a score. And I'll say it another week in a row. The defense once again did enough for you to win. They allowed 16 points, and you gave up 7, and you missed a field goal in the process. So you easily could have won this game by 8 points if you actually handled your business. So once again, this offense comes up short. So you tell me, how are we supposed to look at Mike McDaniel? Like, I'm not saying to fire him or anything like that, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to be completely honest. A very critical eye will be put on Mike McDaniel going into 2023. That's what
it is about to be another frustrating offseason of debate, of movement, of staff changes. I think, like, the one thing that I keep coming back to in terms of this defense, I can't really say they played good enough to win, because there were critical moments, especially on third down, and it feels like this has been a theme over the past month, where they can't get off the field on third down, whether it's because they simply allow a team to convert or they commit some sort of penalty that extends the drive. The Keon Crossen DPI at the 5-yard line is maybe the worst penalty of the season. It might be the worst penalty of the season.
It's Keon Crossen.
You're an NFL player making how many million.
He has
you do not get to do that at this point in the year. You don't get to say that in January. In September, you can say it's Keon Crossen. In October, you can say it's Keon Crossen. It's January. He's been playing how many snaps a game for the past 4 months?
And when you're a bad player, you're a bad player, dude. And when you're Noah Igbenogany, it's not going to change, my man. I don't give a shit how many years goes by. I don't care how many weeks go by. If you're a bad player, you're a bad player, period. Week 1 or week 17, Keon Crossen is a bad player. And some of you are expecting bad players to become good players.
I guess where I'm trying to decipher your tone here. Like, are you making an excuse for him? Because, like, there's no excuse for it. I don't care if you're Keon Crossen or Xavier Howard. Like,
no, my problem with
you messed up.
No. My problem with all of this, and people like you, okay, is that you have expectations for these guys. I have none.
I'm sorry.
I have none.
I expect an NFL quarterback not to shove somebody down while the ball is in the air. My bad. I'm the asshole for that. You're right. I am wrong.
They're a shit defense any way you slice it. And the shit defense keeps you in the game every single week. The problem is you guys keep thinking that Keon Crossen, hey, look, Kader Kohu, love Kader Kohu. He had a couple really bad mistakes today. really bad mistakes today. He got beat badly twice, today, and made and also committed a penalty too. So you're gonna have, but he's a Division II pup. I can't expect, dude. Pat Surtain couldn't even get on the field his first year. Here's a Division II guy that is actually playing. I just think like Duke Riley. He doesn't know where he's at, but he's Duke Riley. Great guy, great soundbite, fantastic guy. Want to hang out with, talk football. He's not supposed to be starting, Marcel. That's my problem with some of you out there. You have expectations, and this is why you keep getting disappointed. I have none, and I'm shocked that they keep you in a game every week. So I say,
I think you can expect replacement level play from them. That's my expectation is replacement level play. Like, you're gonna get beat on some routes, sure. Like, that's where I'm gonna say that's Keon Crossing. When we see Noah Igbenogany get beat, I'm gonna say, okay, that's Noah Igbenogany. Like, I expect those. I don't expect you when
but
I say when I'm thinking you shouldn't expect your primary backup corner. You should not expect him to shove somebody down at the 5-yard line while the ball's in the air because he didn't turn his head around. That's baseline cornerbacking. Is turn around and find the ball, make a play on the ball. He didn't make a play. He just shoved him down. Like, I don't care who it is. You could be disappointed by bad play, and that's bad play. That's why I can't call you are what you are right now. Like, you are this defense is what it is. They are Keon Crossing. Like, he has to play.
I get you, right?
So, like, we don't get to write that off by saying it's Keon Crossing.
But you just said that you're going to occasionally be beaten, right? That's what you say, right? That you can deal with that, right? Right?
He wasn't even beaten. That's the crazy thing. Well, okay, he was in position to make the play. But that's the point. It's like,
my point is that this defense just gets occasionally beaten just enough, but they don't get routed. There's no game where they rush 300 yards on them. There's no game where they pass for 500 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns and you lost by a bunch of points because the defense got dogged. Not in one single game. The only game was the Baltimore game early that you fell in a hole, and then once you fell in the hole, in the Detroit game, you fell in the hole. You know what the defense did? Oh, my God. It shut them down completely and allowed the offense to come back. Wow, what a concept. It did what it needed so you can actually win the game. Wow, damn it, dude. That's amazing. And if you look at it, they suck. That's the difference between some of you and myself. They're not good, yet they keep you in the damn game every single week. And they did it again this week. They allowed 16 points. My brother, 16 points in the NFL, you should be 17-0. In this NFL, where you're supposed to be scoring in the 30s, you should be 17-0 if you're.
I mean, yeah,
come on, man.
If you play the New England Patriots every week, you should win 13 of those games. So, like, let's not discount who they were playing. You could, like, it's not the same. Like, that offense had nothing. Mac Jones is not a good quarterback.
No,
Matt Patricia is not a good offensive coordinator.
Definitely
like,
not.
So you better put, like, is perhaps what's even more disappointing is they can't take advantage of even this kind of matchup.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bad defense against a bad offense, and you saw a bad offense win.
Yeah.
The problem is on the other side of the ball, it was a good defense versus a bad offense.
Not really, because your offense actually scored more than what the defense allowed. You lost because Teddy Bridgewater allowed a pick 6 and you missed a field goal. That's why you lost. Okay? That's why you lost. Because if you look at what the defense allowed on the scoreboard and what the offense scored, they scored more than what the defense allowed. So they did enough. Okay? You lost because the offense couldn't score, but what they did was give the team the other team points. I can't blame that. I can't blame that on the defense. You shouldn't either. It's not fair.
These games, like, it doesn't. You don't always lose just because you get routed in the NFL. Like, losses don't happen just because you allow 500 passing yards. Oftentimes, games come down. Games come down to 3 or 4 plays. You could usually boil it down to 3 or 4 plays. And the problem is too many times, too many of those plays over the past month have been, oh, they could have gotten off the field on third and 12, but defensive holding extended the drive. Or it's 3rd and 6 and Mac Jones threw a duck downfield, a prayer, and you shoved the player down 10
and I could come
5 seconds before the ball got there. It's happened too many times. Like, it's not a good
and I
defense.
could come up with the offensive plays too to counter that
we're right
every
there.
single time. Every single in the Bills game alone, with all the running plays that they left on the field on 3rd and short, with the 2 touchdowns that were dropped in one possession, with the Braylon Sanders knuckleheaded play that he stops, and if he just runs, he runs right into a touchdown, for not going for 1 point instead of going for 2. I can counter everything you say on defense with 2 of them on offense. For every one you have on defense, I will counter with 2 on offense. That's how bad it's been, dude. Green Bay Packers, same thing, dude. Stupid decisions. Look at Mike Gesicki. All of a sudden, he's starting to help you. Well, why weren't you using him all season? Because you're stubborn? Because you refuse to use a guy that actually can make plays for you? I mean, how asinine is that? That part about Mike McDaniel drives me a little crazy, that he's pretty stubborn about this. The running game helped him out in a couple. Those 2 scoring drives, what helped also? And the first one, the running game wasn't necessarily that effective, but it was complementary. And in the second one, it was effective. So I have to lean on a lot of this on offense and say that's where the talent is, Marcel. That's where you've had less injuries. That's where you have the superior side of it. When this was Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas and Pat Surtain and Sam Madison and Tim Bowens, do you know who we used to lay the blame on? Sam Madison, Tim Bowens, Pat Surtain, Jason Taylor. They didn't do enough. You know why? Because we knew that Jay Fiedler wasn't good enough. We knew that he was just a manager, a game manager, and they had decent players, but that offense wasn't anything special. So you needed the defense to be special. In the 2022 version of the Miami Dolphins, the only side of the football that can be special is offense. There's nothing special about defense, and my God, special teams. There's certainly nothing special about the special teams. That's why you and I and many others look at it differently. I count on the offense to bail them out. Some of you are still living on the past, thinking that this defense is something to carry anything. They're not going to carry shit. That's the difference.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever said I expected the defense to carry it. I think you said that they played well enough to win, and I said this is why I can't necessarily say that for them over the past couple of weeks. They played well enough to win. I don't know about that. They played better than they have played at their lowest points this season. I can come to that common ground. But like, well enough to win is getting off the field on 3rd down, and too often these drives are extended because of bad penalties.
Give me Zach Thomas. Give me Derek Brooks. Give me a real middle linebacker, and maybe I can get off the field a little bit more. Maybe I can actually track down a running quarterback. Give me a nice, strong, athletic, fast running back.
I think they hope for that with Channing Tindall, and there's still hope for that with Channing Tindall. But he's not really getting on the field. He's definitely not making an impact when he is on the field. This draft class as a whole has been ineffective, and we expected that when their first pick was a 3rd rounder.
Yeah.
But they're not worried about rounders now. We'll see when we see. But like they hope, I think Channing Tindall, with that athleticism, with that speed, can be a sideline to sideline guy for him. I don't think Jerome Baker is having a bad season right now. I think he's actually, I don't put a lot of stock into PFF, but if you do, he's pretty highly ranked among inside linebackers. So or among linebackers.
Let me explain what I believe is wrong with Jerome Baker, and it's not really his fault. If Jerome Baker had an impactful end on the other side, a middle linebacker that could roam the field and do his job, then Jerome Baker would become a much better player. But when you start putting responsibilities on other people to do things that they don't need to do or they're not really suited to do, like sifting through the traffic and getting running backs and behind the line of scrimmage, all those. That's not really his thing. His thing is to blitz. His thing is to cover a little bit. His thing is not really to be a thumper. And you're asking him to become more of that when that's not really his game. He's, I think, a pretty good weak side linebacker. But in order for him to become what you want him to be, you need other people to fill their roles so he doesn't have to, kind of like what's going on with Javon Holland now. Javon Holland has to kind of play like, babysitter back there now. And he can't necessarily attack nearly as much as he wants because he doesn't have as much trust around him anymore. So he has to take it easy a little bit more now, and he has to be a little bit more protective back there, in other words. So it just changes things. And I think what's going on with Jerome is unfortunate for him. It's not that he's a bad player. It's just now you're putting him to do more than what he should be doing, and you're not allowing him to free flow and play like he was last year and the year before, where you had the other guys doing their jobs and he was able to actually ad lib a little bit more with his athleticism. That's just me. It's not really all on him. I think it's his surroundings, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that's fair to say. I think with Brandon Jones, uh, yeah,
Oh,
with,
that's
with
another one.
Brandon Jones healthy,
Jesus.
you
Great
get
call.
you get a different Javon Holland. It's just
Yeah.
one of those seasons where people are going to look down on it because his responsibilities were different, and therefore his statistical output is going to be different. His production is going to be different, but he's still the same elite safety that they drafted last year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. It's just that the whole dynamics change, bro. You don't have that lockdown secondary. So then you don't have the same pass rush up front. And then because you don't have that, then you don't have a great linebacking core. That's something that you're really missing on this team. There's a trickle down effect to this whole defense that it's just changed the look of it and the way it can play. And that's why it's not effective. I just think philosophically you were built one way and then you had to change, and you're not built to change. So you're kind of screwed. And then you're half-assed throughout the season trying to bring people off the street to fill it in. And it's just so hard to do that, man. You know, Jason Sanders has played one more game for the Dolphins, and he should be cut, I would imagine, right? They must bring in another kicker next year, correct?
Yeah, I saw I looked it up. Spot Track says he's a $0 cap hit, dead cap hit if he's cut
Okay.
this year. So they're not tied to him at all. Daniel Oyefusi and I were looking at it, looking at the numbers this game. I forget exactly what it is, but I know this year he's 1 for 5 on kicks of 50 or more yards. Last year he wasn't good from 50 or more either.
Yeah, it started last year. Yeah.
And that's a bad trend after you got paid.
Amen.
It's a bad trend after you got paid. So yeah, I think I think he's probably done. He's probably done unless they just go on a run to the Super Bowl this year in which he scores every single point. I think that the Sanders era might be done. It's a fickle position, man. Like it's hard to be a kicker, like a mainstay kicker. You don't really see that anymore. Because you miss a couple kicks. Guess what, man? There's a shit ton of kickers out there. There's a lot of other kickers you can go get.
The Justin Tuckers are just so hard.
Yeah, the
Tuckers,
the Robbie Golds are done. The Sebastian Janikowskis are done. Like you could get a kicker, man. They'll play for 3 different teams, 4 teams a year. Good kickers too. You would think, wow, like Rodrigo Blankenship. I would have thought, wow, yeah, he looks really good as a rookie with the Colts. I think he just got cut by the Cardinals, or maybe he's still in Arizona now. The movement, the player movement for kickers and specialists is wild. But yeah, I obviously don't have a name of who they're going to bring in, but I would expect
Yeah.
I'd expect they move on.
Yeah, and they did a good job, by the way. They did a good job with the punter this year. They needed a punter. They went and found one because the punter was struggling the year before. And this guy's done a really good job. With Tua, what are you hearing? There were reports out there that he might, if they make the playoffs, he could play the playoffs. Is that anything?
I honestly, I'm glad you brought this up because I thought like the Tua reporting from this morning was some of the most useless reporting we have ever encountered this season. Oh, sources say Tua would love to play in the playoffs if he's cleared.
So
what are we saying? Of course he would. Tua would play right now if they let him. Are you crazy?
would have played tonight.
What kind of report is that?
Yeah.
Like, that's just like you say a couple buzzwords and watch people fly all over. He said absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Glazer did. So like, sure, I'm sure maybe he was told that, and maybe Tua can play in the playoff. But you know what? I know Tua is not cleared right now. I know they're taking it day by day with him right now. We'll get an update tomorrow.
You're on the phone, and Lee says to him, "Well, he really would like to play if they get to the playoffs." There you go. I got my report. That's it.
Big scoop. Breaking news. Tua Tagovailoa still wants to play football. Like that's not a. It's not a report. That's not an update, guys. Like I know everybody is anxious for Tua news right now, and like I promise, whether it's myself, whether it's one of my colleagues or peers, competitive, whatever, we're gonna have it when we know it. We'll have it when we know it. It's my understanding that McDaniel is the only person talking for Tua right now. Like nobody else has clearance to. He doesn't want anybody else talking for him right now. If it's not coming from McDaniel, I would be wary of trusting it. But obviously he wants to play. But let's keep it a buck, man. It might be a moot point. It might be a moot point because I don't think this team beats the Jets next week.
No,
there's nothing that they've shown. I don't care what the Jets are doing against the Seahawks right now. The Patriots were bad entering this game too.
They were getting killed. I don't know.
So like, I have no confidence in this team at this point. We used to do confidence ratings last year at ESPN. Mine would be maybe 0.5, in which I'm confident that they can take the field. I'm not confident they can win. Like they haven't looked like a playoff team for more than a month. I don't think that changes just because another week goes by. I don't think that changes if Tua is cleared and plays. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. I think we've seen it doesn't really matter who's at quarterback. This offense has been in a rut for a month. It doesn't matter. A bad offense looked worse with Teddy and Skyler today. That's what happened. It's not like it's not like they drove a sports car into the ground. The sports car's transmission has been busted for a month. It doesn't matter if you have Lewis Hamilton or a 14-year-old behind the wheel. Like the car is busted.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. By the way, Seattle is beating the Jets 20-6 with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Mike White, 16 of 32, 168 yards, and 1 interception so far. So yeah, that's what's headed there.
Yeah, I was just talking to a Jets fan the other night, and he was trying to say, Mike White's back, but Mike White, like, were we doing this with Mike White? Like, are we gonna act like last year he didn't get exposed?
He's a Jag.
Last year he got exposed. You know what Mike White is.
It's the silly shit that goes on because he's local. It's the same thing, dude. It's the same thing that goes on with Teddy Two Gloves. And I've been telling people for years, he's a really nice kid. He's a phenomenal kid. You want your daughter to date him. But overall, you don't really need him as a franchise quarterback. He hasn't even averaged 2 touchdowns in his career per game. He's never been that guy. And it's just why? Because he's from here. And it's just one of those things, dude. It's just like that. That's part of you'll get used to it down here also. There'll be that bias because he's from this town. So then they'll give him a little extra love. If he's not playing here, he's playing somewhere else. But they didn't really watch Teddy every week in Minnesota. They don't really watch Mike White thoroughly. You know what I mean? Like he has thrown 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in his run so far in 3 games, and all 3 touchdowns were in 1 game. And he doesn't have any touchdowns in this game. So 3 of the 4 games he hasn't thrown a touchdown. But Mike White. Why? Because he's where is he? Sunrise or
Look, he's good for He's good for like an explosive game when he first arrives, and then offenses or defenses say, "Oh wait, this is how you play him," and then
Right.
he comes back to earth. Like it's not the Jets are still a quarterback away. They're not a contender because Mike White's playing. As case in point, what we're seeing.
Although I will say that Breece Hall kid is special. That kid can ball, bro. They got themselves a special player in that one. All right, special player. What are you working on ESPN so folks can check you out?
I have my big question today was, who is most at blame. So I'm going to spend some time trying to figure that out. And taking this one day at a time, just like they are with Tua. I'm going to take my week one day at a time. No plans, because my plans could be thrown in the trash can if Tua is cleared or ruled out or whatever. Like my week is going to revolve around Tua. I know it already. We all know it. It's fun, so I don't have a.
Here's a tip.
I don't have a hard plan. That's what I'm working on.
Those of us that cover the Dolphins or root for the Dolphins, I just want you to know it's a weird thing when you walk by your liquor cabinet and it's calling you. I just want you to know that it's not you. It's the Dolphin thing that does to you. So don't listen to that voice. Don't hit the bottle. Stay away. Don't pick up a drinking problem just because you're covering the Dolphins, okay? It's happened before. We want to look out for you, Marcel. Take it easy, okay?
Yeah, I'm be all right. Be all right.
All right. Follow him on Twitter at Marcel_LJ and catch him doing his thing here with our Edge Energy Drink Miami Dolphins report. Remember, go to myedgedrink.com and use our code Big O. Get 10% off so you can get the most delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste sports drink on the planet. Yes, delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste. Amazing. And only 78 calories. myedgedrink.com. That is the website. Marcel, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Y'all take it easy. Happy New Year.
You got it. There you go. Marcel Louis-Jacques.